Joe, what's happening, brother?
I'm doing good, Kenny.
All right, man. Hey, let's talk about people's misunderstanding about what it is to be a trainer versus a profession versus being just a hobby. You know, a lot of people don't understand. I get people all the time like, Kenny, man, you got the best job in the world. You get to train people all day. You get to work out, and you come and go and you do this or whatever. I mean, it's crazy. But, I just look at them sometimes because I'm like, man, do you know what it took for me to get here? And, maybe I do, I do get to train people. I do get to work out and I can come and go as I please and whatever. But, it didn't just fall in my lap, it took, blood, sweat, and tears. I worked for this, you know what I mean? You ever get that?
Oh, yeah. I think especially the comment like, oh, you just get to work out all day. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm working out 8 hours a day. Yeah, every single day. Like, how exhausting that sounds, just you saying that. The misconceptions of being a trainer is that people really don't know the legwork that goes behind, or the work that goes on behind the scenes to be a successful trainer. Because a lot of people, because the way I see it is like, especially with the people I come in contact with, they're like, oh yes, you just tell people what to do. And I'm like, no, there's more to it. Exactly. And just like in the last episode, we talked about training with a purpose. You have to find that client's purpose and know exactly how to train that person. Exactly. And you can't train everybody the same because some people have limitations, and you have to know that. Yes, there is a science to it. You have to know the progressions and regressions, like, hey, if you can't do this, we can do this. And you have to know right then and there. You don't have time to go look it up on your phone or go research. Again, you have to do your research as a trainer. You have to keep up with the times. We talked about in the previous podcast about studies change all the time about what's healthy, what's not healthy, what works and doesn't work. And we have to stay up to date, just like technology. We always have to stay up to date with what's going on with people.
People don't understand that, though. I mean, that's one of the first, when people walk into my gym, one of the first things I do is I really, give them a thorough looking, you know what I mean? Look over, I'll say that. I give them a thorough look over because I'm trying to, when I'm looking at people like that, I'm trying to figure out body shape, body type, and so on and so forth, especially for the goals that they're trying to reach. All of that stuff comes into play, and a lot of people don't realize that it's not just a there's no cookie cutter way of doing it.
Yes, it's not a one size fits all.
Exactly. You have to, everybody's a little different. So their nutrition needs to be a little different. Their exercises need to be a little different. The weight, the intensity of it needs to be a little different. Everything, and a lot of people don't get that. A lot of people don't get that, and so it's good that you mentioned that, and it's crazy. And I think one of the things too, especially being in this industry, is like when we first go through our certifications, it's like, yes, anybody could get their certification, but it's what you do with that certification. Exactly. I've known trainers who probably have 10 different certifications and still don't know what in the hell they're doing. I know. I've seen that.
I know you've seen it time and time again, and you're just like, you're gonna hurt somebody. You really don't know what you're doing. Exactly. That's where it's like, I'm a big believer in shadowing people, or like, if you're not shadowing, like, hey, ask another trainer if you could go work out and train with them for a day, get a different perspective of what, because pretty much each trainer will have experiences like, I have more experience in this area than this area, and so I'm a big believer in training with a lot of different people who specialize in different things. For example, shout out to my brother, Spencer Herzog, the owner of Athletic Performance Labs. His thing, kind of like me, is he specializes in athletes. Okay. And me being an athlete myself, like, I always that's what keeps me on my game, because he's very scientific based. And yes, I'm a believer in science only goes so far, but he's very like, he backs it up with his studies to where like, hey, this is why we do this is why we do that. And he's one of those people, like, I can go train with him. I don't need to know the purpose behind what's going on,
Right.
but I know like he has like the intention behind it and the meaning and the purpose of why we do specific things.
Yeah.
Like, he's so funny because it's like I know I don't need to coach you or anything, but you know, it just helps me to explain it. Like he needs to see on his game too, where it's like, hey, exactly. It helps him practice. Like, hey, it helps me coaching. Yeah. Or another shout out to my cousin Justin, who's an Olympic lifting and pro and instructor and coach as well. Where like me, that's where I'm like, I was very inexperienced with Olympic lifts and athletes. If you look at any athletic strength and conditioning program, Olympic lifts are a part of it. Yeah. Especially for kids who are trying to go to the next level, they need to know how to do those lifts. Yeah. So I'm not going to be a trainer like, oh yeah, I watched the video on it. Oh, I can teach it. Right. Being able to teach it and do it are totally different things, because there are guys who can do it and can't teach it, and guys who can teach it and can't do it. Right. And I'm a big believer in being able to talk the talk and walk the walk. And so that's where I would go to my cousin Justin, to where like he can break down every movement down into the science, like, hey, this is why we do this is why we do that. And it's like, okay, so again, keeps me on my game. And then the whole things of misconceptions of trainers is just like, what worked for them thinks it's going to work for their client. It's not. It's not. Yeah. And you're like, and I see you too. Like, for example, like a deadlift is a big thing. Yes. And I believe everyone should know how to deadlift. Everyone's bodies and their positioning is going to be a little bit different. The body mechanics. You know, yes. Like for example, like when I did, my feet are a little bit closer and narrow together, and that's where I feel comfortable, and that's where I feel the most explosive. Yeah. Where some people, they feel a little bit wider, a wider stance, or even just positioning in the body. Where one of my clients, he's Zach, who does MMA, and he's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialist, so he comes and trains with me, and just knowing what they have to do for their sport, I'm going to position him in a different way to where, yes, he is doing the proper deadlift, but for example, like everyone's like neutral spine and it's in line all the way down, you know, starting from the neck and the head, the top of your crown down, where I'm going to have him almost be in a hyper extended position with his neck, because when they're on the ground, they're in that position, and they have to be strong. And people look at that like, oh, he's gonna like kink his neck, or like something's gonna happen. You know, his spine's in line, but his head's a little bit back, a little bit more. And that's where us as trainers and coaches have to know, like, hey, like he's doing this, and this is why he's doing it. I'm not gonna have everybody do that. You know, and so that's where it's just like, no, you have to know a lot more than just basics. Exactly. Yes.
And I don't know if you noticed though, like a lot of times, that's why when I get like these young kids that really want to excel in sports or whatever, I give them to you. I tell them, you know, hey, come train with Joe, because, you know, I certainly believe in the talk the talk, walk the walk thing. And I'm getting to that age though where walking the walk with some of these lifts, they exhaust me now. You know? And I'm like, it just, you know, it's like, man, you know, this tires me out, you know. There's certain things that I don't even enjoy training anymore. So I stick to things that I mostly enjoy. But there's an abundance of people, and there's an abundance of trainers out there that do those things, and I don't mind sharing that, you know what I mean? Olympic lifts. Do I know how to do Olympic lifts? Yeah. Am I great at Olympic lifts? No. It's not something that I do all the time or whatever. So, but I used to do a lot of powerlifting and the bodybuilding and things like that, and the sports training. But even the sports training tires me out. Like I said, that's why I'm like, hey, I got this guy, Joe, he's amazing. You know? Yeah. But like Olympic lifts, I can't even do some of them anymore. You know what I mean? My mobility isn't there, so I won't teach it. I won't teach it. Yeah. I probably could, but I don't because I can't, you know, do some of it myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't, but that's part of being a trainer, though. That's part of being a trainer, knowing your limitations.
Yes.
You know, I've trained in, like I said, almost every aspect of this thing, but my body's not capable of doing some of those things anymore. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, not my realm anymore.
Yeah.
You know, hey, somebody else. You know?
Yeah, and like that's exactly like pretty much just knowing your limitations, because some people are like, oh Joe, you have a nice physique, do you do bodybuilding? And be like, oh no, I'm like, I have no idea. When it comes to like prepping for a show, I couldn't tell anybody.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm not gonna try to sell a product that I don't even know.
Exactly.
Like that's why I'm just like, hey, if you guys are really looking to compete in bodybuilding, get prep for a show, like go see Kenny. Like he's experienced, he knows what to do, he has the pedigree, the athletes to back it up. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to bodybuilding.
I've seen trainers do that kind of stuff.
And like, do I know the bodybuilding movements, my muscle connection? Yes, but again, that's out of my realm. I'm not like, I can't personally take you to the Olympia or like take you to a local bodybuilding show and get you ready. Like I can't do that. And another thing too is like people are like, oh yeah, well I heard this online. And it's like, did you just like look it up just recently?
Yeah,
almost like how long have you like researched and actually dug into the training of like, hey, what is good and what is bad?
Exactly.
You know, especially when it comes to a client.
There's a lot to being a trainer, man.
There is
a lot. And you know, so when you all are out there looking for a trainer, make sure your trainer is experienced in that arena that you know that you want to train in or whatever, because you know that's an important thing.
It is super important.
You know, because if you're trying to reach a certain goal, you want somebody that can take you there. All right. So good talk.
Yeah.
Appreciate
you, Kenny.
All right. Hey, like I always say, you know, hit us up if you you know, have any questions or you want to respond or whatever. Go for it. But yeah, hit us up and we'll talk to you later. All right. Peace.